Good afternoon, my fellow citizens. As I look back on my presidency, I am reminded of one of our greatest enemies, Fidel Castro. His goal was to spread communism. He wanted to do this by taking over the Cuban government. He had turned from prime minister to president when the Cold War had just ended and there was still tension between the Soviet Union and America. Some of his plans for Cuba were to prohibit free elections to its people. This is because Prime Minister Castro believed that a real democracy was not possible for hungry people. He also banned newspapers in Cuba in order to prevent the criticism of the government and eliminating those who opposed the government. The previous president, President Eisenhower, approved the CIA plan to discreetly prepare anti-communist Cuban exiles to launch an invasion that was set to overthrow Fidel Castro's government in Cuba. I launched this plan, known as the Bay of Pigs invasion, on April 17, 1961. Although this idea was not conceived during my presidency, and it was originally President Eisenhower's idea, I am the one who launched the plan. Unfortunately, the Democratic Revolutionary Front, which was intended to overthrow the Cuban government and set by the CIA's Brigade 2506, was defeated in 3 days within launch from Guatemala and Nicaragua. This was a great mistake because it prompted the Cuban Missile Crisis. During his final year of presidency, former President Eisenhower formed a plan named the Cuban Project, but more commonly referred to as Operation Mongoose. He commissioned this in March of 1960. The objective of this was to remove communists from power in Cuba. Operation Mongoose was launched after the Bay of Pigs invasion plan failed. However, this plan also failed. Sputnik. My country was in great fear due to the Sputnik crisis. This was when the Soviet Union launched the first ever artificial satellite in the world. It made it seem like the Russians were much more technologically advanced than America, causing the American people to panic. In order to demonstrate U.S. dominance over the Soviets, I decided to launch the moon race to inspire the American people that the U.S. is just as advanced as the Soviets, if not more. The Helsinki Accords were a critical part of the Cold War and encompassed a lot of human rights, and a good example of this is that the Soviet Jews should be allowed to enter the United States. However, the government prohibited them from doing so. Along with many other ways, the Soviets did not allow the Jews to obtain passports. The defining moment of my presidency was the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was an outcome of the Bay of Pigs invasion. The Cuban government made a secret agreement with the Soviet Union in which Fidel Castro was given nuclear weapons as a deterrent so that the Americans could not attack again without devastating consequences. I thank you, citizens, for electing me, and I hope my services made you all proud to call yourselves American.